Hello, patrons. Marianne from Revealing Light Tarot. I want to look at a couple of patrons' requests this morning. The two questions that I'll look at was why have the Pentagon gone along with Donald Trump, particularly around the refueling at his Scottish resort, having obviously to obey their commander-in-chief, pulling troops out of Syria. When they sit around that table, they're not looking... Those photos, they're not looking real happy. We've got Mike Esper, as I understand, reasonably decent sort of a man. I don't know that much about him, except that he was respected during his service, his military service. He was deputy secretary. What's he thinking? What are the troops thinking? Why are they going along with all of this? Is there a point at which they won't? Are they looking to the GOP? Are they looking to the impeachment process? What are their intelligence agencies telling them? And then we had another question: when will Trump be stopped? Why isn't he being stopped? And it is a political process, unfortunately. Impeaching a president is a political process, and so what does the political process means? It means that enough people want to be want this president gone. So when enough of us want the same thing, then action occurs. But let's go to the Pentagon. Why have they gone along? I'm using my Radiant Rider-Waite deck. Why have the Pentagon gone along with, or appear to have gone along? Because I actually don't think, if we look more closely, there's probably a lot they're holding back from him, and they're trying to manage a situation as carefully as they can without this is a democracy, without the military seeming to overtake presidential authority. So why has the Pentagon gone along? Let's just see what the cards are going to bring forward. Why has the Pentagon gone along with Trump on obviously matters that really affect national security, obvious matters that might bring forward violations of emoluments clauses, and their review actually found there was nothing legally wrong with it, but it actually threw up a dilemma in relation to the perception of the military, and so Trump in a way dragged them down with this request. So why has the Pentagon gone along with Trump on matters that you feel they shouldn't? Okay, and it is around him being the commander-in-chief. He's the government. The Hierophant is the signifier card. Trump is the president, and there is a Republican government in place, okay? But we also have the House there as well. The challenge for the Defense Department or the Pentagon is judgment. And so this comes at the 5 with the Hierophant, as you know, is all about change. But the judgment is something coming to an end. So really I would, if I read in layers, I feel that that the Hierophant is showing the impeachment inquiry, and that the judgment, of course, is suggesting that the public is judging, and indeed this is a dilemma for the Pentagon. We have as the basis of the reading investigation. Now that's interesting. Who is or what is the Pentagon working with this King of Swords coming through here? The CIA, the intelligence agencies, obviously aligned closely with the Pentagon. There is some kind of investigation role here. That's interesting. I don't know the machinations of the Pentagon and how it works, but it would appear that there is an investigation associated with this whole matter. In the past we've got the sun, so we've got an illumination happening here, and that of course can be what came forward in relation to Trump's having those planes, those military planes, refuel near his resort and stay at his resort. They are compromised by virtue of having a commander-in-chief such as Trump. But this is also saying there are decisions to be made. Now, I'm pulling this investigation card here. So, of course, they also have a duty to defend the national security. So, beyond their commander-in-chief, there is an indication that in the future that there is going to be come to a point where a decision will need to be made, and so watch for that sometime in the future. In the immediate future, we've got putting a plan in place. Now that again is interesting because I feel that we might have hit onto something here with this reading, that perhaps the Pentagon has a contingency plan in place. At the moment, though, we have the Democrats and we've got the House and we've got the impeachment inquiry, which is coming forward very, very, very quickly. Nobody is mucking about. The Democrats, the House, are sitting on the weekends. And, of course, we've got the Star of Hope coming forward, showing just how difficult a situation this is for your Pentagon to manage Trump. But I feel that he might actually be being tapped. He might be, not only are they holding things back, but they're undertaking some kind of investigation. They have a strategy in place for this president, but there's going to come a point in the future where they're going to have to make a decision. Moving on, when I say getting rid of this president, I don't mean to say that lightly. They are waiting for the political process to play out. They are waiting for impeachment, and they do want to move on. We've got the past coming through here, going back to the past, going back to a more stable kind of leadership. And there is some smoke screens, illusions and delusions coming from the past. That's interesting. I might clarify that. We've got, they're certainly disappointed with some of his decisions. They feel that, again, this foreign policy across the world, their shadow foreign policy, there is some kind of abuse of power. And we've got the troops here. Well, when I say the troops, there is a level of a weariness around how they have to manage this president. But we do have the ending of something, and we do have, I think, the Pentagon taking some sort of action, which will be contrary to what he's asking for. So I do feel that there could be a pushback. Let's have a look. I want to see the making of having to make choices here to move on from this president in some way. Tell me about the Two of Swords. Clarify the Two of Swords. Tell me about the Two of Swords, Spirit. Having to make a decision, heavy forces weighing on them and having to make a decision. Tell me about this Two of Swords. Something around the hiring out of troops. I feel that is ran counter to everything that the Pentagon really stands for. When Donald Trump said we can pay out, countries can pay our troops, mercenaries for hire. This could also be, now this could even be a plan of Trump's, and I go to Eric Prince, Betsy DeVos's brother, hired mercenaries in place of American soldiers. There's something around the commercialization of American forces or American peacekeeping, or sending in mercenaries, or charging countries for the use of American troops. There's something there that will be a bridge too far for the Pentagon, and this is it's a question of time, and the time is, the clock is ticking for the impeachment there, the impeachment inquiry. That seems to be what they're waiting for. I want to go to this king, because I think that they might be investigating him in some way. They might have a dossier, or they might even have the intelligence agencies monitoring his dealings. So I want to know about, let me just freshen this up. I want to know about this King of Swords. Are they? Can we have some clarity on this King of Swords? Is the Pentagon and the intelligence agencies? Oh, sorry, that's my shuffling more than anything. Are they monitoring this president? Is the Pentagon and the intelligence agencies monitoring this president? Pentagon monitoring this president. Yeah, we've got, could even be the other allied intelligence as well, Five Eyes. Yeah, could also be whistleblowers as well, or something coming out. Yeah, here we have the High Priestess. There's something going on behind the scenes, because I feel that there is a betrayal here. And we've got the King of, the Sun energy. Now that's interesting. The Sun is coming forward quite a lot in my readings in terms of the impeachment. Okay, so, wow, all right. What it appears is that the Pentagon is managing Trump, going along with his refueling in and staying at his Scottish resorts. Could have just been a way to placate this president. They appear to be holding things back from him. They appear to be managing a very risky set of circumstances. But I feel also that he is being monitored. At the base of this pack is justice, loss, and walking away. And then we've got the impeachment inquiry right here in the frame, and our King of Cups. Yeah, they are juggling. Absolutely, they're juggling. And so, as I said, going along with his refueling in Scotland near his resort is a minor matter compared to some of what they're having to deal with. But I do feel that they might even be, at some point, they could hand over evidence. They could hand over evidence that they have been monitoring him or in some way. So Mueller came to the fore there as well. So we'll see what will unfold with that, but they are certainly waiting on this political process, this impeachment, and then they're trying to manage this president in the meantime. So I'll go to the question of when will Trump be stopped? Well, I think the question was, why isn't he being stopped? If he is undermining the rule of law, as it appears to be, why isn't he being stopped? Let me just get rid of those emails. Why isn't Trump being stopped? Why isn't Trump being stopped? Tell me about that. Why isn't Trump being stopped? Okay, so we've got the circles of support, and the GOP, while ever they're supporting Trump, as I said, it becomes a political process. They are challenged by loss. So when enough Republicans are prepared to stop this president, then he will be stopped. You are still living in a democracy, and this is a political process. However, we've got the Page of Pentacles, and this again is, his money trail. But so far that has been kept under wraps. He's got a cabinet which enables him. He's got a party which is not willing to hold him accountable. And of course, we've got the impeachment process coming along, running parallel. It's been hard work. It's been hard work. And that is why, I guess, those that stayed at home and didn't vote probably won't do so again, because they've seen what can happen when their decisions actually have real consequences for them. We've had to rely on whistleblowers with this Page of Cups coming up there. His own party weren't prepared to hold him accountable. The only reason that they will hold him accountable is when they look like they're going to lose in 2020. And we've also got whistleblowers, resorting to whistleblowers having to come forward. In the immediate future, though, we've got victory. Okay, so he will be removed. He will be removed. We've got the American voters. This is a democracy. Who's going to remove him? The American voters and the processes that are put in place through your democracy. People want to go back to past stability, to a better time, and enough of them want this now. The fear is that your president is working for somebody else with this Eight of Pentacles. It's also the hope that the work has to be put in. When this card comes forward, it's showing that considerable work has to be put into something. It's not a quick process; it's a long process. And we've got the lawmakers. So why can't he be stopped? Because you have to wait on the rule of law, and those wheels don't turn quickly, unfortunately. But they are turning with this King of Cups. We're moving into this more benign energy, as opposed to the Devil card, which keeps coming up. And we've got the Knight of Swords. You've got this truth coming forward really quickly now. So it's almost like, pardon me, it's almost like you had to get to a stage, a tipping point, where this president went over it. Now, it was interesting that we had John Kelly come forward and say, which I thought was absolutely as weak as dishwater, say that if he had have been chief of staff, that Trump would not have been impeached. And he's probably quite right there, that he would have pulled back any actions that were impeachable, because he could stand up to Trump. And, of course, that's why he left. But Kelly was also saying that Trump is unfit for office, and that he has to be very tightly managed so he doesn't break the law. And so that's cold comfort, isn't it? So you've had to wait for the rule of law to play out through a series of democratic structures. Trump was elected, whether you believe that the Russians got to the voter rolls, whether you believe that, which they did, whether they actually change votes is another thing, whether they suppress votes is another thing. All of those could be, those scenarios could be true. But at the end of the day, there was a swing toward him, particularly by default, I would say, by the sheer size of the people that didn't come out and vote. So not to acknowledge the apathy and the deliberate decision of people, particularly African Americans, not to come out and vote, is to miss the point here. The midterms showed that there was a mobilisation to try and get rid of this president. I'm assuming 2020 would be the same scenario. But at the end of the day, it is a democratic process that relies on enough people. When enough people want one thing, then things start to change. So what's at the base of the pack? Okay, investigation and review. It had to be an impeachment. That is the rule of law. That is the way you remove a president, is through impeachment. We've got the Hierophant, the government. You remove them, and the courts through the Constitution having to defend themselves. But if we go one step further, we have got Trump's tax returns here, and I do feel that this is when the, what's that saying? The pedal will hit the metal. Because there is an abuse of power. He's not winning at the moment. And finally, we've got the endings and beginnings, the end card in the major arcana, showing me that there is an ending in sight. It will be through a lawful process. I guess if we can take home any message here, is that because it's been so difficult to remove someone like Trump, what will eventually come out will be absolutely, hugely, gobsmackingly beyond what you've even imagined. So when the truth comes out, it will be an absolute removal. He will have to resign. But it is a process. So I hope you enjoyed that reading on the Pentagon. Equally, they are trying to manage through this situation as democratically as they can. And there would be compromises, there would be wins, there would be gains. I'll do a fuller reading on Mike Espy, I think, and the generals in another reading. But I hope you enjoyed that reading. I hope you have a wonderful week, patrons, and I look forward to coming back and reading for you again shortly. Thank you very much.